hold on, we can't sit. Okay, so welcome everybody. A bit of a gap, but we've been able to hopefully spend all that time learning our verb conjugations, which would be great, wouldn't it? So there we go. Now my some reason, there we go. So, buenos días. Bienvenido a la clase 5 de Español Básico. So today we're going to press on with extending our conversation skills. Do we all feel confident in doing the following? Saying hello and goodbye, both formally and informally. Do we all feel we could wish somebody good day or good afternoon? Tell them to take care. Could we ask how somebody is, formally and informally, and could we tell them how we are today? And do we all feel confident asking someone's name and also telling them our name? Are we all happy with that?
Happy is a strong word, Eric.
Yeah. Well,
getting there.
It's practice. It's just practice. If you keep practicing, particularly if you've got a partner who's also learning, speak to each other exclusively in Spanish. It'll be quite a quiet day, but it's a good way to get those skills up, because you only learn really by having it right in your head, so you've absolutely got it. Let's have a look at hello and goodbye. Lorraine, how would you say hello to a friend? Think of a few ways you could say hello to a friend.
I'd probably say hola. Hola, Eric.
Yeah.
Buenos dias.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, that kind of thing. Absolutely fine. If it was a more formal situation, Lorraine, what would you say if you met Señor Marquez en la calle? What would you say to him? How would you greet him?
Probably with the buenos dias.
You can always say, just like in English, you can always say, buenos dias, Señor Marquez, just like we'd say, good morning, Mr. Marquez, and ask how somebody is. Carl, how would you ask Mr. Marquez how he was doing?
So ¿qué tal? That's more formal.
Informal.
Yeah, ¿qué tal is like you might ask for
how you doing, isn't it?
¿Qué tal is more like how's it going?
Yeah.
¿Qué tal? ¿Qué hubo? Is
they're not formal. I wouldn't speak formally to anybody, Eric, because what's the point in learning formal? Everyone's being friendly these days.
Where's your wife? Where's Giselle? Giselle, can you help Carl out?
Yeah, come Joe.
He's about to be all cheeky to Mr. Marquez, Señor Marquez.
¿Cómo está, Señor Marquez?
Yeah.
¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está? Yeah.
¿Está usted? Or ¿cómo está,
You
Señor
could say,
Marquez?
yeah. ¿Cómo está usted? Yes. How are you?
Gracias, my wife.
So hopefully when you meet Mr. Marquez, Giselle's going to be with you.
Giselle doing all the interaction.
Yeah. What about telling us how you are, Carl? How would you do that?
He's in German a minute.
How would you say I'm not so bad?
Soy regular.
Estoy regular. Yeah. Estoy más o menos is good as well. That sort of means more
Esto
or
es
less.
estupendo.
Estupendo is brilliant. Yeah, I'm never estupendo. Not after getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, and just like in English, you can use a shorthand. So in English, we meet somebody. We don't always. We say, "How are you?" and they'll say, "Oh, good, thank you." They don't always say, "I'm good, I'm feeling good." They often just say, "Good, thanks. What about you?" "Fine." You know, we use the shorthand, don't we? And you can do exactly the same thing in Spanish. So, you know, buenos días, ¿cómo está? Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? Bien, bien también. Or you could say, me también, me as well. So there's lots of little shorthand that you can use. That's perfectly good. It's just a little chat you're having with somebody in the street. So, you know, don't worry about hitting all the grammar or using every word. So Jane, how would you, oh gosh, my computers. Jane, how would you say, how would you ask somebody's name?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Como
Te llamas.
Como te llamas? Absolutely, yeah. And if it's formal, if you're in a more formal situation, what would you say then?
¿Cómo se llama?
Como se llama? Yeah, absolutely. Of course, if you're in southern Spain or Latin America, it would be como te llamas? Como se llama? I had a conversation. Well, I tried to have a conversation with the maid in Lucy's mum's house, and terrified the poor woman. I asked her, "Cómo te llamas?" Which she didn't really understand, but she was aghast that I was talking to her. She just really wanted to get on with what she was doing. And I had a conversation with this Englishman who couldn't speak Spanish very well. How would you tell somebody your name, Jane? How would you say?
Me llamo Jane.
Sí, me llamo Jane. And if I said to you, ¿Cuál es tu apellido?
I'm not sure what apellido is.
Surname.
Mi apellido es Lile.
Yeah, Lily. Yeah. Okay, you got me with a Lily bit. you know when I find it I find it's best to not to try to sound English names too much. I find Spanish people are sort of ready for if they know you're English, they're sort of ready for an odd sounding name. So I tend to just say Eric Rayner. I don't say Eric Rayner. They start calling me that after a while because that's how they speak. But I find it's easier not to try to you know, translate English names, Michael into Miguel and that kind of thing, or to put an English spin on it. But that's just me. There's no rule about that. Good, well done. Keep practicing those. You know, they should be second nature to you. So one of the things about speaking Spanish, one of the trickiest things about speaking Spanish is that somebody says something to us, we're sort of so surprised that we completely forget all our Spanish. And when we're meeting somebody in the street, of course, they're going to start speaking to us in Spanish straight away. So we need to be ready with our meetings, greetings, farewells, small chit chat like that. It's got to be second nature to us. Or it's, you know, if they ask us how we are and we're going, you know, they're going to think, oh, God, he's not very well today. We don't think that, do we? So we've made a new friend. We've said hello. We've wished them good day. We've asked how they are. We've told them how we are. We know their names and they know our names. Just extending the conversation a little bit. Let's ask our new acquaintance where they're from and where they live. So to ask somebody where they're from, we use the verb to be. And as we found out last week, there are two verbs which mean to be in Spanish. There's ser, and the other one, anybody, is?
Joy.
Estar. Estoy is I am. It's a conjugated version. Yeah. Estar and ser. Remember that ser is used for inherent characteristics. So we say estoy regular. I'm okay. If somebody asks you how you are, because that's how you are at that moment. But if it's an inherent characteristic, you use ser, and the conjugations of ser are soy, yo soy, I am, tú eres, él, ella, usted es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes son. So when we're talking about where we're from, we need to use ser, and we would use I am English. Typically would be soy inglés. Okay. Everybody got the verb grammars that I sent round, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all had a little look at that and cast it to one side thinking, oh gosh, I've got to learn all these verbs. Well, the bad news is I'm going to add to that list and send it round again each time. So keep looking at it. You need to know those. You need to know all of those verbs on the list, and there's going to be quite a few before the end of the year. You do need to know them. You need to know all the conjugations. So keep looking and learning, testing yourself. Get somebody to test you. Get a friendly. You can't get a friendly neighbour now, can you, at the moment? But I don't know. Get testing yourself. So to ask where somebody is from, we say ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? And that's in the informal, of course. Eres, informal. ¿De dónde? Donde is where. De is of. So what we're saying is, of where are you? In English, we'd say, where are you from? Where are you of? Where are you from? But in Spanish, they say, of where are you? So, ¿de dónde eres? You can answer, soy inglés if you're a man, soy inglesa if you're a woman, or soy de Inglaterra. I'm English, or I'm from England. If you want to ask the question, where is he from? ¿De dónde es él? Note that the conjugation changes. Instead of saying eres, you, we're now using he, she, it, which is es. ¿De dónde es él? How would you ask Abigail? How would you ask, where is she from?
¿De dónde es ella?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Apple, I can see you there. Can you hear me all right, Apple?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can't see you. I can't see your video. Yeah. If you wanted to say, Where is Maria from? What would you say? How would you say that?
¿De dónde es María?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's the that was the easiest question of all, wasn't it? It's on the screen. I don't know.
We can read.
You must forgive me. I'm half asleep. So here's some examples. Soy de Escocia. Caroline, what would that mean? Somebody said that to you. What would it tell you about them?
I'm from Scotland.
From Scotland. Soy escocés. I'm Scottish. Mary es de Irlanda. Mary is Irish. Maria es irlandesa. Maria is Irish. David es de Gales. David es Gales. Amanda, if I said soy del norte de Inglaterra, what would that tell you about me?
From the north of England.
Absolutely. La familia Marquez es de Madrid, Amanda.
And the Marquez family are from Madrid.
Yeah. Now, note here that we've got la familia. So family is singular. So we say es de Madrid. The family is from Madrid. Los Reinas son ingleses. The Reinas are English. So we use the plural, son ingleses. And Leslie, if I said to you, eres de Inglaterra, what would your answer be?
Sí.
Sí, yeah. You're a woman of few words this morning, but you're absolutely right. Sí, soy de Inglaterra. Yes, I'm English, absolutely. Good. So, to ask where somebody lives, we need to use another verb. The verb to live is vivir. It's a regular IR verb. So I live vivo. You live vives. He, she, or you formal lives vive. We live vivimos. You live in the plural informal vivis, and they live viven. So what does why do you get Viva España from? We all know the song, don't we? I'm not going to sing it. Don't worry. Don't panic. I can see people hitting the leave button. Viva España. It means long. Obviously, it means long live Spain. Why Viva? Do you remember a few weeks ago we were talking about verbs, and when we did the introduction, we said there's 3 types of verbs: IR, ER, AR, and that verbs came in different moods. So there was the indicative, which we use to talk about facts and things that are right and we know are happening. There was the imperative form of a verb, which we use to tell somebody to do something. And there was also the subjunctive. We use the subjunctive for hopes and wishes, amongst other things. So Viva España is the subjunctive form of it lives. Viva España. So that's why I just throw that in, because lots of us have heard the song, and when I started to learn Spanish and I came to vivir, I think, where does viva fit in? That's where it fits in. It's a subjunctive. We use that for hopes and wishes, amongst other things. Okay. So to ask somebody where they live, we say donde, which is where. Donde vives? Where do you live? Donde vive, if it's a formal situation. And to answer, you would say vivo en, in my case, vivo en Thorney. Or often you might want to say we live in Thorney, you know, to use the royal we. So vivimos en Thorney. I might say to you, soy de Gran Bretaña, nací en Cheshire y ahora vivo en Thorney, cerca de Peterborough. What does that mean, Giselle?
I'm from Great Britain. I was born in Cheshire and now I live in Thorney near Peterborough.
Absolutely, bang on, yeah. So the verb nacer, there's a verb nacer, which means to be born. Interestingly, we only really use it in the past tense to tell somebody where you were born. Nací means I was born. The informal is naciste. So if you asked a friend, where were you born? You'd say, ¿Dónde naciste? He or she is nació, and we were born. You may want to tell somebody where, you know, perhaps you and your husband or you and your wife were both born in the same place. Nacimos en Cheshire. We were born in Cheshire. I will add nacer to our list of verbs, but I'm only going to put the past, the preterite tense in there, because that's the only one you ever use, I think, with nacer. Unless you're actually being born again, I suppose you might get religion and be born again. You might want to use it in the present tense in that situation, but it's a regular ER verb, so you can work out how to conjugate it if you need to do so in the present tense. So nacer, to be born. Nací is the one that you're really going to be interested in. So here's a list of countries and their Spanish names. We've done quite a few of them. England is Inglaterra. Great Britain is Gran Bretaña. United Kingdom is Leos Unidos. Scotland, Escocia. Wales is Gales. Ireland, Irlanda. And English, Scottish, Welsh and Irish, Inglés, Escocés, Gales, Irlandés. The United States of America is Estados Unidos de América, and an American is normally referred to as norteamericano, a North American. The South Americans get quite annoyed at people from the USA calling themselves Americans, because of course there's a north and a south to America, and a central bit as well, and the Americans tend to dominate the whole of the two chunks of it. So norteamericano, North American, is an American. In Spanish, it's often Estados Unidos, United States. And if you see an abbreviation, you'll see it often abbreviated to EEUU. sometimes with a dot in between the ee and the uu. In Spanish, I think it's a hangover from Latin, where we used to get double letter abbreviations when something was in the plural. Because it's United States, because it's plural, you get the double letters. So in Latin, you'd often see FF folio or PP for pages as an abbreviation. Olympic Games. The Olympic Games are Juegos Olímpicos, and that's written in Spanish as JJ.oo. And sometimes you see a sign on a wall saying SS.HH. That means toilets, WC. So servicios higiénicos. Often it's just servicios, but sometimes you see SSHH on the wall. So it's worth knowing, especially if you need a wee. Okay, what about these? Donde vive él? Diane, your mic's on mute.
Yeah.
Sitting there hoping no one would
No,
see you.
because my husband works from home and the phone keeps ringing. So.
Oh, does it? Okay, well, just tell us quickly what these mean, and then we'll leave you alone. You've just come back from Tenerife, haven't you? So your Spanish will be super good, yeah?
Where do you live?
Where does he live? Yeah.
Where does he live? Yes.
Él vive en París.
He lives in Paris.
Uh-huh.
Franco and Maria live in Cartagena. Is that
Cartagena.
Cartagena? Is that in Spain?
There's certainly one in Spain. I think there's one in Mexico as well. A bit like North American place names. They imported a lot from the old world. Yeah. Vives en Madrid.
Do you live in Madrid?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We live in Quito. Is that?
Yeah. Quito. Yeah.
With.
Somos ecuatorianos. So somos is the conjugation of ser. So we are, somos, we are Ecuadorian. Ecuatorianos is Ecuadorians, yeah.
Ecuadorian.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to be throwing loads and loads of verbs at you over the next few weeks. I think it's good. It's always hard to know which are the essential verbs. There's so many. You really need to know them all, I guess. Rather than sort of giving you one a week and then exposing you to others, I'm just going to throw a load at you really quickly, and it's best just to add them to your list and try and learn all the various conjugations. So can you speak the language, or can you speak English? Do you speak Spanish? That kind of thing. It would often be asked, or you would want to ask. So there are two verbs meaning to speak, hablar and decir. Now in English, we just say speak. Can you speak Spanish? I speak English. You speak now. in Spanish, they use hablar as we would use to speak, and decir to talk or tell, yeah, or to talk. So we use hablar. It's a regular AR verb. I haven't put the conjugations here because I think we've done it before. It's on your list, and it's a regular AR verb. So we can probably work them out. Do you think, Carl? Could we work them out?
Yeah, hablo,
Mm-hmm.
hablas,
Mm-hmm.
hablar,
Mm-hmm.
hablamos,
Yeah.
hablan. Habláis, hablan.
País, sí.
Hablan.
Hablan. Yeah. Well done. Yeah. So just like that.
No, that's wrong. That's got an ES, Eric. It should be E&A.
Oh dear.
That was a test, just to make sure we're
That's
paying
today's
attention.
deliberate mistake. Well spotted, Jane. Hablas, habla, hablamos. Yeah. Well done. Don't know how that happened. Moving on quickly. So somebody might ask you, habla usted español? Is this formal or informal, Jane?
That's formal.
Formal, yeah. And it means, of course,
Do you speak Spanish?
you speak Spanish. So how would you ask informally, do you speak Spanish?
Spanish, it would be hablas español.
Hablas español, see. And if you wanted to ask if somebody spoke English in a shop, for example, Leslie, what would you say in that case? Do you speak English?
Instead of English. Sorry, did you not hear me?
If you were in a formal situation, say you go into a shop and you don't feel confident talking Spanish, and ask them if they speak English, what would you say?
Habla usted English.
Inglés, sí. Muy bien, bien. If you wanted to say I speak Spanish, Leslie, you could say
Habla español.
yeah. And I don't speak Spanish.
No hablo español.
Yeah, yeah. One of the great things about Spanish, one of the things I really like about Spanish, if you want to make a negative, you just stick no in front of everything. Don't extend the vowel like we would in English. No, we'd often say to the grandchildren, no, don't do that. In Spanish, you've got to clip that vowel sound. It's got to be no, no. Sometimes it sounds a little harsh. When I first heard Spanish speakers, often it sounds a bit harsh. We pull out the vowel and we make it more user-friendly, nicer sounding. The Spanish are not just like that. Sometimes you think, oh, come on, jump. So do you speak English? Hablas inglés would be informal. Habla inglés usted would be formal. And I don't speak Spanish. No hablo español. And if you want to make any verb in any conjugation negative, just put not in front of it. And there you are. You've got it. It works every time. So where we are now, we might say in answer to a question, ¿hablas español? We might say, no hablo español, pero estoy aprendiendo, which means, Giselle?
No, I don't speak Spanish, but I'm learning.
Yeah. Absolutely. In Spanish, you often get two no's together, sometimes three negatives together. In English, two no's sometimes mean yes. Two negatives make a positive. But in Spanish, two or three or four negatives just make it more and more negative. So you don't need to worry about add as many no's as you like, and you'll be fine. Get on very well. Hopefully, very soon you may say hablo inglés y un poquito de español, which, Abigail, means?
I speak English and a tiny little bit of Spanish.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, by the end of the year, you'll be saying "Sí me defiendo," which literally means I can defend myself, or it's another way of saying I can get by, that's where we want to be at the end of the year. We don't have high expectations. If we can muddle through a conversation in Spanish at the end of this course, then we'll be giving ourselves a pat on the back and a pass. We'll have a long way to go, but we should be able to get by in a Spanish-speaking country at the end of this course without getting completely lost. So un poco de means a little. Un poco de. Un poquito de is smaller, a very little. And Spanish love their diminutives. So you can add ito or ita to the end of lots and lots of words to mean little as a term of endearment. So niña is a girl. Niñita is little girl, but it's generally used as a term of endearment. Niñito would be a little boy. Often adding this ito or this ita makes the words really difficult to say, but the Spanish, they don't let that worry them. They just push on. They just love a diminutive. So I might be called abuelito, little granddad. And of course, it doesn't mean little granddad. It's just a term of endearment, and you get the same thing in other languages too. So in Russian, ishka it's a similar thing. It means little. So Anishka literally means little Anne, but it's a term of endearment. My youngest son is married to a Russian called Inna. Her parents often call her, even though she's in her 30s, they call her Inishka, except when they're cross with her, and then it's Inna. It's used as a term of endearment, but you can also use it to mean very little. Un poquito de is a very little. Un poco de is just a little. So that's that. So, ¿Alguien hablan otro idioma aparte de inglés? Does anybody speak another language apart from English? I know quite a few of you do. I know a few of you got pretty decent French. Yeah? Anybody going to put their hand up for pretty decent French?
Schoolgirl French.
Apple, you can speak French, can't you?
Little bit. Can I just ask, why is hablan in the plural and not in the singular?
Because I'm addressing you in the formal you plural. So does any of you speak another language? I'm addressing the class, so I'm using the plural formal. it's yeah, is that?
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, you speak a little French. So and I know Carl and Abigail are German speakers. No,
I'm not
not
German, I can
Abigail.
speak.
Carl and Giselle. I'm marrying you off to another woman. Carl, Carl and Giselle speak German like a couple of natives, don't you? After
No, hablo un poquito alemán.
so I mean, if you're I mean, this has happened to me a few times when I'm abroad. I find myself struggling to speak the language, but it's worth asking the person you're conversing with if maybe they speak, maybe they'll speak another language that you can both share. So you can, if you're in Spain and you're struggling with your Spanish, maybe they could switch to French, and you could converse in French. So no hablo español, pero puedo hablar un poco de francés. Habla usted francés? You might say to in the north of Spain, you'd probably find a lot of them do speak reasonably good French. Probably certainly better French than most of us would speak. So you might be able to switch into French and get by with that. Francés is French, Alemán, German, Italiano is Italian, of course. You wouldn't use the capitals if you're writing German, Italian, Alemán, Italiano. If it was in a sentence, not at the front of a sentence, you would use a small a, but you use a capital when you're talking about the country. So España has a capital E, Español has a small e. It's just one of those odd little things that we find in another language. Okay, so asking questions. We did a little bit of this last time. We've often said that when you're asking a question, it doesn't always have a clue like it does in English, but the Spanish do use certain words which give you a clue that it's a question. So we've been using this morning donde, where, de donde eres, where are you from, donde es mis zapatos, where are my slippers. We can use cuál, which, what, qué, what. Como can mean how more often, also means what as well in certain constructions. So they're good words to know when you want to ask a question in Spanish. Where, which, what, and how. So those are obvious questions, but if I said to you, ¿Quieres un café? It could mean you like a coffee, as in you like coffee, or would you like a coffee? That's why the Spanish have an upside down question mark at the front of the sentence when it's a question, because Spanish questions aren't always obvious. In English, we'd use the word would so that it was perfectly obvious that it was a question. But in Spanish, there isn't that clue always. So you have to make the meaning clear by the way you say the sentence. And a question always increases in height. I do say like the Australians talk, or how we talk in English. If we wanted to sound cheerful, we put a little uptick at the end of the sentence. So if I wanted to ask you, would you like a coffee? ¿Quieres un café? Just give it a, and then they'd realize, he's asking me for coffee. So that's how it works. And we'll be talking a little bit more about we'll be talking and using questions quite a bit. Now I've got some homework for you this week. I'm going to send around the updated verbs list. So do spend some time on these, because I've written them all out, and I'm hoping I've got the right conjugation of hablo. I hope I've conjugated it as an AR verb, not as an ER verb. Jane will email me if I haven't, won't you, Jane? So I've typed them all out. I don't want you to just look at it and put it in the bin, or not even look at it. But you'll never learn them just by sitting down for 2 hours and reading them. You know, you'll learn a few, but then you'll forget them. Take some time aside each day, whenever it's a good time for you in the day. I'm pretty good in the morning. I'm a bit of a morning person, so things tend to sink in a bit better in the morning. So take 15 or 10 minutes in the morning and just read through them, or get somebody to test you on them in the morning if you can. Construct a few sentences to yourselves. And your sentences at this stage of your Spanish understanding aren't going to be terribly long, but it's a good way to get the verbs, conjugations set in your mind, just to make a little sentence with them. So so do that. Also, we've got a little bit of homework at the end of the lesson notes, to write a paragraph in Spanish to say where you're from, where you were born, and where you live now. If you want to email those through to me, then I'm happy to just take a look at that for you. Otherwise, I'll tell you what you should be saying next week. And also, there's 10 questions with a gap in the middle, where we need to use the verb either ser or estar. I want you to choose the correct verb. Remember, we need to, in last week, 2 weeks ago, the lesson, we covered when to use estar and when to use ser. So choose the correct verb, first of all, and then choose the correct conjugation. It's pretty easy, but you just need to get into it, and then it becomes second nature to you. So so go through those. I think, did I send the lesson notes around to everybody? I think I did. Did I? Yeah.
Yes.
So this homework should be at the end, and Ian, if you're struggling with that, you could just get Marilyn to do the homework, and you can.
A good idea.
Yeah, that's nice and easy. So next week, we're going to do a few more verbs. We're going to do a couple of verbs that we really need is querer, which means to want. So it's one that you use a lot in Spanish, particularly as a tourist, because you want to look at something, or you'll want to order something, or you want to book a room or something like that. So querer is a word that you'll use an awful lot. And today we just want to finish off with a few common phrases, common words that you'll see in Spanish. We've done a few of these before, but I don't think it does any harm to keep banging on about them. You'll see the word así quite often. It means like this, and you could say lo quiero así. I want it like that, or I want it like this. More often you might say, if you get a meal brought to you and they've put the beans on top of the toast instead of at the side of the toast, it's a dreadful crime, is that. You might say, no lo quiero así. I don't want it like that. In the Spanish book we used last year, I'm not using it this year, I'm not ever so sure about it. It's called Sueños, and they'd say, así se habla. What speaks like this. This is how it's done. Así se dice. One says it like this. You also see así se acostumbra. This is how we usually do it. Así is used a lot, and just think of it as like or like this, and you'll not go terribly far wrong. Quite often these little Spanish phrases have a meaning that if you translate it directly, it just sounds really weird. But I think that's quite a good thing, because if it sounds weird, you often think, well, what's that? And then you remember it. Not always, but quite often. And my favorites, the most important word in the Spanish language, and my favorite word in the Spanish language, is hay, which means there is. And because, of course, we can just stick no in front of it and make it a negative, no hay. You can use it for all kinds of things. Hay galletas, there are biscuits. I'd normally say this when it was our coffee break, when we were meeting together as a class. Don't know when we'll be doing that again. Certainly not in November or early December. But if we all get our jabs in January or February, then hopefully we might be able to resume classes sometime in the new year. That'd be great. Hay galletas, there are biscuits. No hay galletas, there are no biscuits. You could say, hay galletas, are there any biscuits? Make it a question. Hay que means you must. Hay que esperar aquí. You have to wait here. You must wait here. So hay has lots and lots of different uses. It's a really useful word. Think of all the ways you can use hay. Often in guest houses, not in big hotels, but in small guest houses, you may see hay camas. There are beds, which just means we've got vacancies tonight. So if you're in Spain, you're touring around, you see a nice looking little place and it says hay camas, means you can stay there for the night if you want to. Good stuff. So that's the end of today's lesson. I finished 3 minutes early, so we've got time for some questions. If anybody's got any questions, does anybody got any questions about today's lesson, or are you all happy? You all happy with where you are?
Could you just recap what United Kingdom was in Spanish, please?
Yeah. Reas Unidos, it means United Kingdom. Kingdom from rey, meaning king.
Reas.
I normally use British. I normally say I'm British, but I talk about I'm going to the UK. So Reas Unidas, United Kingdom.
Okay.
Anything else? Everybody's happy? Yeah.
Fine, thank you.
Good. Jolly good. So I'll send some stuff around. I'll send the recording round in case you want to go through this painful process a second time. And I'll also update the list of verb conjugations. Keep it by your bed and keep looking at it. And I'll see you next week. Usual time next week.
Eric.
Okay.
Oh, Eric.
Adios. Thank you.
Adios.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gracias.
Nos vemos el martes.
Eric, can I just ask, did you send any notes round in advance of this afternoon's lesson?
No.
Did I? No, I didn't.
That's okay, fine.
No. There's, it's going to be a nice surprise for you,
Right.
I think.
Okay, thanks.
Might be a nasty surprise, who knows? Okay, see you all. Nos vemos. Nos vemos el
Adios.
martes.
Adios.
Adios.
Adios.